Hello, my name's Chubblot, but because we're friends, you can call me Chubblot. If I were to ask you what you think is a major factor in a party-based RPG, what would you say? The story? The combat? The characters that launch 1,000 fan art reblogging Tumblr accounts? Or the party? There may be some crossover between those last two.
Well, I'm getting ahead of myself.
So why not rehash some old content in a more in-depth fashion as we wait with bated breath for Larian to drain the swamp that is their office and grant us the power of the fabled Patch 4. Rather than tackling all of the upcoming companions at once, I'm going to be trying my best to give each one the spotlight. First on this list, because I'm anticipating her arrival pretty soon, is Karlach. We'll be trying to answer 3 broad questions. Who is Karlach? What is Karlach? And perhaps most importantly, how is Karlach?
Could have sworn I told you to.
Oh good, well, 2 questions left then. This video will contain Datamined content and spoilers. Of the 3 unreleased companions, only one can currently be encountered in-game. Follow the Risen Road up to the Toll House and you'll find Karlach down by the river. Speaking to her unravels a portion of her story.
You were on that ship with the tentacles and the worms.
She was also on the Nautiloid, except that she boarded willingly when the Nautiloid teleported into Avernus.
If you'd seen as much of hell as I have, you'd rather have a flayer's tentacles up your ass than stay.
Making her the only companion entirely responsible for their own tadpoling.
You brought this on yourself.
Karlach was in Avernus against her will, conscripted to fight in the Blood War.
With distinction.
A long-fought battle between the demons of the Abyss and the devils of the 9 Hells, on behalf of the fallen angel Zariel. Now that Karlach has managed to escape Avernus, Zariel has tasked a group of cultists masquerading as current Paladins of Tyr to track down and kill her.
Kill the fiend for us, and we'll reward you well.
Which would return her soul to the Hells.
Her soul's already damned. She escaped from the Hells. We just need to send her back.
You can choose to help Anders take down Karlach and he'll reward you with his magical sword, which I was disappointed to discover is a sword. Or you can make the correct choice and help Karlach by offing Anders and his crew and then just losing the sword. If, or rather when, you help Karlach, you can ask her to join, but as of right now, she'll refuse.
Until I've shaken Zariel off my back, I'd only put a target on yours.
She'll also tell you a little of her personal goal, why she's travelling to Baldur's Gate, and also hint at how she ended up in Avernus.
Politicians. The
Futon.
who sent me to hell in the first place.
If you speak to Karlach's corpse using Speak with Dead and ask what connects you to Avernus, she'll respond,
Conspiracy. Elturel's fall.
This seems to directly reference the events featured in the Descent into Avernus campaign, where the city of Elturel is dragged into the Hells as part of a deal struck with Zariel. Baldur's Gate 3 takes place after those events, and Zevlor's group are actually survivors of the Descent.
It's a practice left over from our nights in Avernus.
Karlach's connection to Elturel goes a little bit further though. If you pass a performance check while playing the goblin drums, then Karlach can start singing what the game calls a sad lament.
Oh, sing a song of Elturel when foes are at her door.
And thank you to Hannah Quinn for pointing out that this refrain is in fact part of a song detailed in the Descent into Avernus module. It's possible that Karlach was in Elturel when it fell into Avernus. She was presumably then captured by Zariel's forces and forcibly conscripted into her army. I'm not 100% sure of that though. When Glut asks Karlach to think of home, she has the option to think of Avernus.
It shivers in resonance with your remembered pain.
I don't know exactly how long Elturel's fall lasted or how long it's been between Elturel's return and the events of Baldur's Gate 3, but it would seem strange to me if Karlach considered Avernus a home without having been there for a significant amount of time. Maybe Karlach was in Avernus even before the Descent. She does seem to know of and be known by other creatures with links to the Hells, like Corilla.
Seeing the infamous demon's bane at the mercy of a goblin is very disappointing.
And Raphael.
I have 1,000 mistresses, Karlach.
Fear and pleasure blend quite well.
Karlach also seems to know Will's patron Mizora by name or reputation.
Mizora. I've heard that name before.
Which may be related to Mizora's "my dad's a big deal" line.
Then my father will. And your eternal soul will be his.
Suffice to say though, Karlach's connection to both Elturel and Zariel will make her an interesting recruit for any fans of Descent into Avernus.
You might be in for an adventure with Karlach. More than you bargained for.
So that was who is Karlach. Now we get to what is Karlach. Yeah, I know, it's a weird question, just humour me. Karlach is an Asmodeus tiefling. I doubt that will change. Her character model probably will though, because Anders describes her as having a single horn, which...
She has the form of a tiefling, with a single horn.
No, she doesn't.
1, 2...
Her title is the Demon's Bane, because she was very good at killing demons.
Turns out that I've got a knack for killing demons.
Far from being a random foot soldier, Karlach was actually a pretty considerable asset to Zariel.
Devils don't like to lose their assets.
Karilla can describe Karlach as
Zariel's favourite.
This points to Karlach being one of the stronger companion characters before her fall in level, possibly second only to our almost archwizard Gale.
Magic is my life.
But what is Karlach's class? Paladin. She's a paladin. Her model comes with the Paladin Tag attached. So, video over, I guess. Or... Okay, so it's easy to just point and say, yeah, obviously she's a paladin. And sure, probably, but there are so many things about her being a paladin that just straight up confuse me. So I'm going to play Tiefling's advocate here and tell you why I'm a little sus about Karlach's paladin stat us. To start, we're going to delve a little deeper into how the paladin class tags actually work. As of right now, the paladin and the cleric tag work identically. The selection of either class leads to the selection of a god. The god you choose doesn't change your abilities, but it does determine both your paladin of tag and your alignment tag. While it is possible to receive dialogue options purely for a paladin tag,
your gift is near blinding. Your deity must have blessed you twice over.
Not only does that significantly reduce the flavour of the class, but it sort of breaks dialogue. For example, in this interaction with Mayrina, a paladin can offer to say a prayer for her husband.
Connor used to say only a fool turned down the divine.
But the game kicks you out of dialogue after Mayrina's response. This is because the game needs to find an alignment or paladin of tag to continue the dialogue. If one or both are present, the game carries on.
Connor used to say only a fool turned down the divine.
I decided to give Karlach the good paladin tag because she seems to be on the good side of the moral spectrum.
He'd have liked that.
She's yet another companion who can leave the party if you side with the goblins.
I didn't escape the hells to lose my soul to another evil. I can't be part of this anymore.
But a paladin derives their power from an oath, not specifically a god, don't they? Well, sure, but the in-game description for good, neutral, and evil paladin all name drop some of the gods that confer those tags. So at the moment, it doesn't seem like Larian are separating worship of a god from the power of an oath, which does seem to fit with what Ed Greenwood tweeted. Although paladins, by their very nature, are semi-independent agents, they do serve deities. Being a cleric or paladin in the realms is not doing what you want as an armored killer, but also having healing spells. Meaning Karlach having just the paladin tag would be odd when it comes to a game set in the Forgotten Realms. But Chubblot, I hear me cry on your behalf. What if the two class tags working identically is just a placeholder? That's possible, but there is some evidence to the contrary. While they tend to trigger the same responses, there are some unique paladin-specific ones, like these.
What fortune? Tyr himself must have sent you to assist us. We are paladins in his service. A fellow paladin? What fortune? There are wrongs to right and we need help.
Of course, as a paladin, your patron deity endows you with many such powers otherwise unattainable. I do hope you cherish that gift.
So okay, maybe that's true, but couldn't Karlach be an Oathbreaker? Well, that's harder to verify. Oathbreakers aren't a player handbook subclass, and I could only find 1 or 2 mentions of them in-game. one being a book in the Goblin Camp which details an interview with an Oathbreaker, and the other being Anders.
I did follow Tyr once, but I broke my oath when I saw how blind his justice can be.
But rather than wielding the power of an Oathbreaker, Anders is pretty clear about him and his squad getting their power from Zariel.
The Archdevil Zariel. She gives me the power to protect those I love.
On a more technical side, while the 3-player handbook oaths all have their channel divinity skills in-game, neither of the Oathbreaker divinities, Control Undead and Dreadful Aspect, are even mentioned in the files. Well, surely Karlach would mention if she was a paladin. Apparently not. She references Shah a few times.
The Dark Lady, befouled by the Absolute's mark. Heresy.
But so does literally every other companion and player voice.
The Dark Lady. Heresy.
Maybe it's to help with multiclassing later on, or perhaps all of the actors were just given the exact same script.
I saw nothing unusual in Lae'zel's demeanor.
In fact, when it comes to the script, there are some moments that make it even harder to believe that she's a paladin. When Will queries Karlach on where she learned to fight, she can respond with hell.
I thought I caught a whiff of cinder on you.
That's very rude, dog.
I'm sure it's possible to become a paladin in Avernus, but Karlach also says that during her time in Hell, she got everything she needed to fight from her commander.
Back in the Blood War, my commander gave me what I needed to get the job done. I have fire running through my veins.
So in the dubious timeline where I am correct and Karlach isn't a paladin, what could she be? Well, combining everything I know about Karlach together made me think of one specific class. Let's just see if we're on the same page here.
So I'm back to relying on muscle and steel.
And she looks like she could rip your arms off with her bare hands.
Not very sturdy. I could punch right through it. I've torn demons apart with my bare hands. You'll get a friend who'll put a dent in the skull of anyone who pisses you off.
I don't know about you, but that painted a pretty barbaric picture for me. There is one last thing that may support the Karlach is a barbarian theory. It's actually the reason I got this idea stuck in my head, and you've already seen it. Quite a lot. Throughout this video, Karlach has appeared in several outfits of the Datamined and colour-swapped variety, but eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed 1 or 2 or 4 consistencies. For lack of a better term, the gloves and boots that Karlach is wearing are stuck to her model. They're always there, no matter what you put over them, as if they're an inherent part of her character design. And if you've seen my video on hidden armor, or you visited the ESO Model Viewer's Datamined tab, link in the description, you may have already noticed that they belong to the Barbarian armor set. Big question. Could Karlach be a barbarian? Maybe? Probably not. The fact that she has the Paladin Tag attached to her model is compelling evidence of what Larian have planned for her.
A light, sharper than the truest blade, brighter than a star.
But I thought, why not float the barbarian Karlach theory and see how fast it sinks? Before we finish, I've got 2 channel recommendations for you, both linked in the description. First, the beautifully supportive Harbsnarbs, who answered my stupid questions on Twitter at 2 in the morning. He makes very interesting lore videos on Dungeons & Dragons, Planescape, Cyberpunk, so check him out if any of those words tickled your turnips.
Why would you say that?
Second, the equally wonderful Wolfheart FPS. He covers gaming news, character builds, various RPGs, including Baldur's Gate 3. He streams, he's basically a proper YouTuber. In particular though, I want to draw your attention to his really well put together complete narration of the Descent into Avernus campaign, potentially very relevant to Karlach. But now all that's left to do is to thank you for watching. So thank you, 12% of people, for watching to the end. You are my favourite people. Don't tell the rest and they'll never find out because they don't watch to this point. Anyway, bye bye!